George Parr, you're the governor of the maximum security prison.
Yes.
And it's been a difficult week for the prison service.
We've had our ups and downs, yes.
Yes. You mean the prisoners going up over the wall and down the other
No,
side?
no, I was thinking in terms of the general morale in the service. Last week,
Yes.
the Tory party conference, the Home Secretary said prison works.
Yes.
And then this week he said that prisons were in such a shambles he was going to have to fire the Director General. So
yes, so you were rather depressed.
Yes.
Because the Learmont report, which was published this week, it does identify several managerial problems in the prison service. The fact that governors like you are surrounded by this huge mountain of paper every week. I believe one jail said that they received 230 letters, 45 faxes, and 6 email messages in one day.
In one day, yes. That was a good jail. I wish I worked there.
Yes, but this is a great problem.
Well, it is a problem, and not only that, but General Learmont also pointed out and criticised the fact that we have currently, from prison headquarters, 38 separate new initiatives, policy initiatives, that we have to be carrying out at the present time.
Yes. He did also identify certain security problems at Parkhurst, where the 3 men escaped, didn't he?
Yes, well, of course, I'm not governor of Parkhurst, and so I can't really comment. I don't know what goes on in Parkhurst prison. I hardly know what goes on in my prison, because I've got so much paperwork. But, yes.
Yes, but he, for example, he did say that there was D-wing, which was a no-go area for the warders.
That's right, yes.
And that the staff in the emergency control room failed to notice on the television monitors the 3 prisoners climbing over the
wall. Yes, but this is partly, you see, a matter of resources. Because he did also point out in the report that the people on duty, the officers on duty in the control room, were not fully trained.
What would that training amount to?
We train people over a long period and we bring them into the control room. They say, those are television screens. You probably aren't familiar with them, but they are television screens. And what you do is sit and point yourself at them so that you can see them. And they'll be showing pictures of the prison fence. And if you happen to see little figures crawling up the wall, then, you know...
Alarm bells should start ringing in your head.
Yes, or preferably in the prison.
And of course, Mr. Marriott, the governor of Parkhurst Jail, his whole regime was somewhat criticised, wasn't it?
Well, it's very easy to criticise Mr. Marriott and governors like him for things like having ice cream vans in the prison and having barbecues for the prisoners. I mean, it sounds like woolly-minded liberal regime, but I mean, there are security benefits to these things.
In what way?
I mean, the barbecues, for example, are a very good way for prison officers to meet the prisoners. To actually get to know them, you see, because, I mean, they don't know the ones in D-wing because they never get into D-wing.
They can't do it.
The prisoners won't allow them. So
they could invite...
You can point out, you see that the man over there eating the flaming sausage, that is Strangler Jarvis, or whoever it might happen to be. He's a very... he's a very desperate and dangerous prisoner.
Yes, he would be. Yes.
So
it is a lesson in prisoner recognition, being able to recognise a prisoner when you actually...
It is very valuable for prison officers to recognise prisoners.
Well, I can see that would be an enormous advantage.
Well...
True. Such a thing.
I'm sorry. Because, I mean, they might recognise them in the street. Because it was pointed out by General Learmont, of course, that after the Parkhurst escape, one of the escapees was passed by a prison officer who didn't recognise him. And so it is very useful if you're out in the street and you're a prison officer and you see a prisoner coming out of the newsagent and you think, well, hang on.
I've seen him somewhere before. It must have been at the
barbecue.
Yeah.
This is appalling. No,
that is That is very, very useful. One can see that. Especially if the man coming out of the newsagents was carrying the till. But if one could get back for a moment to the Home Secretary, Michael Howard, I mean, would you say that as some have, that there has been too much interference by the Home Secretary in the administration of prisons?
Yes, I mean, that has been said. But, I mean, it's very good to have a hands-on Home Secretary, somebody who takes an interest. And we always look forward to his visits to the prison. They weren't very frequent, but he always had something to say to everybody. He would say, you know, what are you in for? And I'd say, I'm the governor. And then he'd say, thank you very much, and goodbye. Or occasionally, thank you very much, and you're fired.
Yes, no, I was thinking more of the gap which has been identified this week, particularly between what's called policy and what's called operational matters.
It's difficult to make the division there. I mean, previously we've always thought that policy was pretending to the voters you knew how to deal with crime, and operational was pretending to your staff that you knew how to deal with criminals. But now, a rather more simplified definition is that policy is when things are going all right, and operational is when they aren't.
But let's just say, for the moment, that Michael Howard really meant what he said, that he was, in other words, he was telling the truth. He wasn't lying.
Well, we have to assume that, do we?
Yes.
Or for the purposes of this argument.
Yes.
Yes. Wait a minute, give me a minute. It's rather like watching the X-Files, isn't it?
Take as
yes,
long
all
as
right. No.
Yes,
I've got it. Yes,
so if he actually means all these things about sentences
yes.
and sending people for life after 2 strikes and you're out and that sort of thing, then the prison population is just going to rise just
tremendously, yes. I mean, we already have one of the highest prison populations in the world. We have 51,000 people in prison, and of course it will go up to twice that, 3 times, 4 times.
And it's going to be ruinously expensive.
It is.
We can't afford it.
We can't. Well,
because we have to build new prisons.
Yes. But even if you don't count building new prisons and so forth, it still costs. For example, in my prison, on average, it costs £816 a week to keep a prisoner in my prison.
So that's
£43,000 a year. Now, this I've come up with an idea which I've put forward to the Home Office. Is what you do is, if you say, all right, it's 43,000, half of that is, say, let's say 22,000, and you go to a prisoner and you say, look here, would you like to make £22,000? It will pay you £11,000 down now. You go out, you don't commit any crimes or anything for a year, and then you get another 11,000 on top of that. And now, this at a stroke, you see, will halve your prison budget.
Yes, it would. And you wouldn't need the other half because you wouldn't have anyone in the prison.
There wouldn't be any crime.
And there wouldn't be any crime.
No. Good idea.
That's right. The only flaw in that otherwise terribly ingenious piece of social engineering is that there isn't a punishment element.
There isn't a punishment element, and of course a lot of people want that. A lot of people want that more than anything else. They want
more than not wanting any crime.
And more than not wanting any crime, more than not not wanting justice, for example. They want punishment. So in that case, we will have to do what has been suggested anyway by Learmont and others, which is to introduce American systems.
This is the Supermax prison.
The Supermax prison for the most violent prison, all in one place.
Yes.
So, well, with any luck, some of them will kill each other. So that would
be a help.
It'd be a help.
And of course, the boot camps.
Boot camps where you put indisciplined yob teenagers and turn them out as highly disciplined, fit, aggressive criminals.
Yes.
And chain gangs and tagging and the rest of it.
Do you think that these American ideas would work in this country?
Well, as we all know, there's very little crime in America. So I imagine they'll be as successful here as they are there.
Yes. Yes, because this is the first priority of any prison service, isn't it? Is to prevent crime, too.
No, the first priority of the prison service is that whatever happens, Michael Howard isn't to blame for it.
George Parr, thank you very much indeed.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.